Hello, Mustafa.
How you doing?
I'm very good, thanks. Yourself?
Not too bad. It's a nice day.
Very beautiful day. Very beautiful day.
Yep.
So we've spoken previously,
Yep.
but we didn't get a chance to record a conversation. So I thought today we'll have an opportunity.
Sure, no
Do you want
problem.
to give a quick introduction to the camera on who you are, what you believe, if you believe anything, what you know, even better?
Sure. So my name's Mustafa. I've been coming to Speaker's Corner since about 2015, on and off. Usually when I come here, it's to have like worldly discussions, but because you see Speaker's Corner, it's very religion is very overrepresented. So you end up, even if you talk about worldly things, you end up diverting into religion anyway. So I've had to develop a position on religion.
Okay.
And my current take is I am an agnostic atheist. I've been an agnostic atheist since I was about 15 years old.
Okay.
But I come from a predominantly Muslim background. You can guess by my name. But I'm not opposed to people holding religious views. I'm just not entirely convinced that religion is a reflection of the truth. But it is a tool that can be used by people to sort of better themselves and behave in a decent way. But like any tools, it can be misused and misrepresented.
Yeah.
It is as much about the practitioner as it is about the practice.
Lovely.
And that's my position at the moment.
That's a very sensible position to hold.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
You don't actually have a thing against religion. It's just how it's being applied.
100%. It's like, look, you look at any religion or any piece of wisdom, like take religion out of it. We'll take, say, Stoicism, or a philosophy developed around the same time as as Christianity. You know what I mean? There are many things about Stoicism that are useful and applicable to our day-to-day lives today. But if you were to say, no, Marcus Aurelius was a misogynist, or such and such a practitioner was a sodomizer of boys, you know what I mean? You're talking about people who lived 2,000 years ago. You know, yes, I'm going to take from their philosophy what is useful and applicable today, but I'm not going to judge their characters like from 2,000 years ago. It was a very different time and a very different thing, and I don't think it's fair to
And
judge.
people can be multifaceted. They can
100%.
make great decisions in one aspect and terrible decisions in another aspect.
100%.
I think you were having a conversation earlier in regards to like scientists.
Yes.
They could be very logical, very good at problem solving, but when it comes down to communication, they just don't have that skill because they've not worked on it. So
100%.
you could take something from a scientist and go, yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
But just because he's an idiot when he's talking to someone, doesn't mean we disregard everything he has to say.
100%. Like the average research scientist is a guy who works 10, 15-hour days in a lab dealing with machinery and other scientists. How good at communicating effectively is he going to be? This guy's just doing his job. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So do you hold a position that God is useful to society or doesn't matter to society or is irrelevant to society?
So it depends on what you're asking me. Like from an objective standpoint, like again, what are we trying to answer? Any model of society or the universe with God at its center can function in exactly the same way as God without it. You see what I mean? So you think of like British society. What are we doing in the name of God in the UK society today?
Not a lot.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Even the so-called Christian work ethic that is fueling a lot of the cultural components, we don't put God at its center anymore. It's about like the hustle culture, making money. Even though it came from what is effectively this idea of working towards betterment and salvation, that was the starting point. Now the salvation aspect is completely gone. It's about making money and maximizing profit, etc., etc. So I don't think modern society, like when Nietzsche said we killed God, you know, I think that's what he was essentially talking about. It's like, do we need
Within
God?
society itself.
Yes. Do we need to have God in our day-to-day affairs for society to function? The answer in the 21st century is no, we don't. We have replaced God with other aspects.
How about to say to function effectively or efficiently?
What does that mean? What does effectively
Well,
and efficiently mean?
Good question. Let me preface it with my typical little spiel that I typically give here. In life, there's two decisions. There's loads of decisions you make, but the decisions are usually following two different paths.
Yeah.
One path is self-worship, what I call self-worship, or the worldly path, or the self-desire, which is lust, anger, greed, attachment, and pride. Or you can make decisions based on truth, love, compassion, contentment, humility. Now, what you said earlier in regards to society now being all about the hustle culture, about what you can get out of it, that would be down the worldly path, which would be the greed, the attachment,
Yep.
the pride.
Yep.
Whereas if we were living more godly way, we would be more focused on the community aspect of truth, love, compassion, contentment, and humility. Now, in that respect, I think that God would play a significant role in guiding us in this better path than the path towards self-destruction.
Okay. Well, we can test that theory. And if we look at societies that are purely theocratic and driven by God, is that what we see?
Which society would you give an
So
example of?
look at it's difficult to point to a 20th century society like the Amish.
Exactly.
The,
The Amish, yeah,
something like the
fantastic
Amish,
example.
for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
So the Amish have their own problems. So the idea of yes, having God and religion at the center of your society will solve some problems, but will exacerbate others. And will they completely eliminate, narcissism, greed, and all of those facets? The answer is probably not. Those things. So if you're asking me from an individual level, yes, for some people it would definitely help to have a community and to have to believe in something bigger than oneself. You see what I mean? And it would definitely make a difference, especially now for a lot of people. But can that be weaponized to be harmful? The answer is hell yes.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Yeah. We've seen it happen plenty of times.
Yes,
yeah.
it is. And you just have to look at Europe throughout history. It's like the continent of Europe, to get to where we are today, we had to go through nearly 200 years of religious war to get to where we are today, to get to the Magna Carta, the Treaty of Westphalia, the idea of separating church and state. That didn't arise from a vacuum. That arose from awful epoch of history, and it was driven primarily by religion.
But you would agree that it was driven by the people using it as that particular tool for negativity
100%.
rather than positivity.
The tool. It's interesting. It's like the knife can be used to cook a meal or stab a human being.
Yes,
Is
exactly.
it the fault of the knife?
No, exactly.
There you go.
But then would you not say that our system right now isn't any better because the government could be used as the same tool?
Oh, 100%.
So
100%.
have we really gotten into a better position? Because even things with the Magna Carta and other laws that they've passed, like free speech and stuff, it's free speech until you say something that the people in charge don't want you to say.
Yeah. Well, I think we're better in the sense that not that all the problems have been fixed, but we are not attributing the laws to some divine, inscrutable source that is unchangeable and unknown. We're not attributing the rules to something that is yes, nothing is sacred, but at the same time, the fact that nothing is sacred means it can be changed if it's not working. Whereas if something is sacred, there are fundamental aspects that is never going to change, and that injustice will just continue and continue and continue because it is the word of God. Okay. And this is our tradition.
So you're saying that we're more adaptable now that we don't have God involved?
Yes.
Okay.
And to add to that, does the current situation, I mean, we live here in the UK, is the current situation telling you you should not be Christian, you should not be Muslim, you should not be Buddhist? There is nothing stopping you from practicing Christianity, and no one will punish you for practicing Christianity. Whereas if you go to Central Germany and say that you're Catholic, you are going to be hanged.
Really?
Oh yes.
Germany.
That was in the 1600s.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Sorry.
Not modern times. Or worse, you go to Saudi Arabia as a Christian and you try to visit the Kaaba. It's very likely you'll be thrown in jail.
Yeah.
And what is
I don't think you're allowed unless you're a Muslim.
Allowed.
Yeah.
Exactly, you're not even allowed. So in that regard, yes, it's what I'm trying to abandon in my line of logic is the all or nothing thinking. Is that yes, not every solution will solve every problem, but has it bettered us in some ways? I think the fact that we're lighter on the fire and brimstone and the fatalism, I think it's a good thing because it leaves us open to change. But at the same time, does it introduce new problems? Of course it does. You give a human being a stick, we're going to mess it up in every way before we learn how to build a house or start a fire.
Yeah.
So human beings are going to cause problems.
Okay. So you said we're more adaptable. We could skip this topic, by the way, if because I know you're working.
No, that's fine.
No, because I'm going to talk about transgenderism.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you don't want to touch on that because it will be put online,
okay,
I'm happy to skip over it and I'll go to another
all
question.
Right, sure.
But the question was essentially going to be, we're more adaptable, but now you can see that we're also more manipulated, and we're more happy to accept certain things that don't make any logical sense, such as the transgenderism movement.
Okay.
Is to say that I was born in the wrong body, and the way to fix that is by taking some drugs and changing my outward appearance to reflect the inside. That's what I believe the transgenderism movement is.
Sure.
that kind of thinking is being promoted nowadays, and that literally will lead into a degenerative society because in order to have kids, you need man and woman. If most of the kids nowadays are thinking because of societal pressure that they are now transgender,
Yep.
they're doing all these surgeries that are not reversible, that will scar them for life and prevent them from ever having kids in the future.
Okay.
That is going to affect society
All right.
going down the road, is it not?
So I think we're overrepresenting a very small minority of people.
I
And
agree.
and here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I agree.
I'm not opposed to transgenderism. If someone, because I know what the process is to get that change, and it is awful. It's not I go to the supermarket and I become a woman. It is a very long, painful, and awful process that involves surgery, hormonal therapies, and for an extended period of time. And what is the end result of that? You're making everyone around you uncomfortable. It is not nice to be a trans person. So my position is the starting point is always sympathy. I'm always compassionate with others. But my problem isn't that we are highly overrepresenting these people and overrepresenting what they stand for in society. I understand that people are uncomfortable with the idea. I don't think anyone is going to swallow that pill very easily. Even I sometimes am reserved when I see what is clearly a man with boobs talking to me with a deep voice. But at the same time, I'm thinking, yes, he knows that. He knows that people around him are uncomfortable. But in regards to its effect on society, here's a thought experiment.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's assume magical thinking, I could wave a magic wand and all those transgender issues would disappear. How would your life change?
I would not have this niggling thought in the back of my head that the government is trying to teach the kids that you could just choose what you want to be. You know, you're born male and female, but according to the government, what they're teaching the kids in schools nowadays, what they're trying to push the agenda. Like you said, it's a very small representation of these people.
Yeah.
It's like 0.1% of the entire population of the planet. However,
Oh, hello. How are you doing, sir? Good, good. You're looking sharp. I forgot what we were talking about.
I think I can't remember the exact point, but I think we were finishing up on the transgenderism.
Oh, okay.
It was there was the 0.1%, and you said thought experiment. What would be the biggest issue for me? What would change?
What would change?
And like I said, it would be the thought that if I did have kids,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be brainwashed into thinking that, hey, I could choose a gender. I
Okay.
can choose what genes my body is, which you
Okay.
can't.
Okay.
A man is a man, a woman is a woman. A transgender woman is not a woman, it's a transgender man into a woman, fake woman. So I'm very definitive in the what is what it is. And so I think that
So
that would be
the
my biggest.
only argument I have against that is not related to gender. It's so I grew up in Kuwait.
Yeah.
I grew up in Kuwait, and I was born in the UK. I've had a British passport since birth.
Okay.
So on my national ID and driver's license and everything, it says like citizen United Kingdom. And here's the interesting thing: whenever I would go anywhere for my papers, and I would give them my and they would look at me and then like it says here United Kingdom. Like where are you really from? They would ask me that question every time. So why doesn't it say Egyptian? It's like, well, because here's my passport. And then I would have a debate about them as to whether or not I am actually English. You see what I mean? So and that is my position when it comes to the transgender community. It's interesting is because yes, sure, we can agree that this person was born biologically male, and I'm pretty sure the person who is like trying to identify knows that they're biological. There's no debate there, but it's a question of is it right for us to impose an identity on the person when this person is clearly representing an identity with that? And, and you see what I'm coming from? And the same was for me. So like, why are you like, look, bro, my passport is UK. If there is a problem, I can go to the UK embassy and be airlifted by the SAS.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You see what I mean?
But the thing is this, they are actually so confused nowadays. They were talking about this in the American Senate, I think.
Oh yeah.
Where they're like, what is a woman? They couldn't define what a woman is. So in your example, it would be like, what is a British person? And then you have to try and define what a British person is. It's like, no, we're having the wrong conversation.
It's for me. It's as simple as what does he or she look like? If I'm seeing a tall, muscular person with a beard, I'm not going to check their genitalia. You know, I'm not going to like feel down there. It's like, what are you reading?
I'd hope not.
You know what I mean? And there was an interesting one. I saw a very terrifying picture of a trans man with a vagina, and I couldn't tell that it was a woman. I just like let me see.
No, I'd rather not see.
You're not going to see the equipment, but I'll put it to you this way. This is the one that shocked me. It was. Let me see if I can find it.
Because the point I'd bring up after that is going to be essentially, does equipment then define gender?
That's the thing.
Because then we could talk about hermaphrodites and stuff like that, and then go down another thing of, say, a man lost his junk in some kind of accident. Does that now mean he's a woman?
Yeah.
I don't think equipment changes your gender. I think it's something you're born with, like X, Y, X, X. So that's what assigns gender.
So gender is an interesting one because you are correct that it does correlate with physical sexual characteristics.
But not always. Yeah.
But it's the same. It's like, what's the difference between male and masculine and female and feminine? Because like, again, I'm a guy. I'm a cis hetero male, and if I decide to talk like this, you know, this is me performing the feminine. I'm not a woman, but I am encompassing a series of symbols and performative ways and means of being that have no relation at all to my biological reality. And this is just me doing it now. Oh, hello.
Having fun, playing a game or whatever.
Exactly. But what if someone takes that to the point where that is now their entire reality, and this is them imposing
then there's
that
some kind of mental issue that they have that we need to address.
Yeah.
There's people out there who think they're dogs. Like they literally want to be walked around on leads. There's people, it's crazy out there. The world's crazy.
All right.
There's people out there identifying as they are attracted to children. They're saying it's its own
it's
kind
a
of
legitimate sexual. Yeah. I've heard that.
Everyone's starting to identify with all these different things and just going, oh yeah, but it's just the way I am.
Sure.
And they're trying to justify their mental issues with, I was born this way, it's just the way I am, rather than realizing, no, there's a root cause that's caused you to go down this route. The nurture over nature. So the nature is you're born a man or a woman, the nurture led you to maybe I'm not a man or maybe I'm not a woman.
Well, the interesting thing about this position is that is there a possibility of overcorrecting? That we take one dimension, like say trans becomes acceptable. So suddenly there's going to be bad actors and people claiming, okay, we did this for this, why can't we do the same for this? But then like, no, that's not a legitimate thing. Like suddenly we're making pedophilia and coprophagia suddenly, that's what I am.
So what we're doing is we're taking this black and white and we're going, no, it's a spectrum, and now everyone wants to be on that spectrum.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go, where do we draw the line? At some point we need to draw a line somewhere.
And to be fair, and like, historically speaking, yes, there were points in history where a society where pedophilia was a completely acceptable practice. You just have to go to the ancient Greeks and the Romans, etc. Like, yes, molesting children was normal. So human society does vary. But then again, it's like, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some point in the future, it's like, oh, look at what these crazy people were doing. And the same way we're looking
as we learn, as we grow.
Yes,
for sure.
But again, it's
but we shouldn't be taking steps backwards. Is my point in regards to like saying, oh, now I could be whatever I want to be because I feel like this.
See, I don't think that's a step backwards, but I don't think it's backwards or forwards. I think it's a step. But whether or not it's going to work, I think only time will tell. And the only advantage that the trans people have is that their numbers are minuscule. That genuine trans people with gender dysphoria who are going through legitimate channels are a minuscule number. If we were to quadruple them, they would not come up to 1% of human society. And again, it's like, look, I get that people are uncomfortable with trans people. I'm not 100% comfortable with trans people. But then I also know that if trans people were to disappear tomorrow, literally nothing in my life would change. Nothing. Most of the people I know, their lives wouldn't change at all. Sure, they feel more comfortable, as I would be, but then I'd find something else to be uncomfortable with.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
I understand. Yeah, you'd always find a reason to kind of like see differences in people. It's pattern recognition again.
100%.
But I think that
But I do understand your discomfort, and I do understand the concern.
It's not really
I'm not,
discomfort.
I don't
It's
want to
just,
dismiss
yeah,
it.
it's more concern. It's more concern than
Yes.
discomfort. I've worked with trans people before,
Yeah.
and I could have a conversation with them. But at the same time, when, for example, I was talking to this trans woman, it used to be a man turned into a woman, when he'd say things like, "Oh, she's pretty," or this or that, I would be like, I don't know how to react to this. Like, there's certain situations where I'm like, if you were one of the boys, I could say this. If you were another girl, I could say this. But because you're in this middle section that, I'm sorry, I just don't know
I
what to
get it.
say to you.
No, I totally get it. It's we are playing in a relatively new field of but then again, I liken it to say like the early days of desegregation in the United States. So if you were a white guy and suddenly you're dealing every day with black people when before you weren't, I'm pretty sure there was a point where you were uncomfortable dealing with it. You see what I mean? Even though you don't have anything against
I wouldn't say it to that extreme, because I think with the whole segregation thing, that was obviously a segregation of black and white.
Yes.
It's like saying if we segregated men and women
yeah,
and then brought them back together again,
which
would
is
we have
happening in
issues?
Saudi now.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, is this because of the whole alcohol gambling? They started introducing women.
Well, no, they haven't. No, they haven't. Saudi's still a dry country, but the whole. I remember I used to go to restaurants in Saudi when I was there for business. It was divided clearly into family section and singles section.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Okay.
The restaurants I went to in 2004, it's like some Italian dude and his girlfriend eating in the table next to me, and a bunch of guys just having. And so this is new, relatively new in Saudi Arabia.
And is it all going to shit?
So far, no.
So you can see that male and female, even though they're segregated, now they're integrating. It's not that bad, but
it isn't.
whereas the trans and the normal populace, I don't like using that word normal, but the non-binary, the people who are binary, because that's the thing, it's men or women.
But can I ask you a question?
go for it.
Why did you bring up this subject specifically? I mean, I've never once in the corner spoken about
No,
trans
no.
or even brought it up in regular conversation. So why did you bring it up today?
It was because we were talking about the religion and
Yes.
God guidance.
Yep.
So for me, it's simple to say that God made man, God made woman.
Uh-huh.
But when we take God out of the equation and say, don't worry about God, it's how you feel, that's when it leads down to these kind of thoughts. And one of the thoughts is, I feel like I'm a woman, or I feel like I like kids, or I feel like killing someone. When people do bad things, it's never because they thought it through completely logically and with common sense. It's usually some kind of feeling, emotion. It's like someone attacked someone white because they were angry.
Yeah.
Someone attacked someone white because they were emotional. It's
Yep.
some kind of emotional based
okay.
thing.
No, okay. I see where you're coming from. All right, but I do get where you're coming from. But you went from there specifically to trans,
Yes.
as opposed to a whole range of vices that we could get to. That are like take for example like our. I know, like the way we've elevated not just trans, but we've elevated sex in British society.
Yes.
It's now become nothing. Money. This idea of inebriating ourselves.
Yes.
This is again, I don't know any religion that is happy with these ideas. Like drugs are normal. So we've sidestepped all of that and focused on an issue that is about 0.1%, less than 1% of the population.
No, I
Whereas
agree.
we have a whole bunch of problems. And look, I get you. This is important to you. I'm not dismissing the fact that it's not important, but there are so many issues that can fall under the same.
No,
I'm curious why you arrived at
No,
that.
I could happily talk about the money thing.
Yeah,
We did talk about money. We did
Yes.
say how society is moving towards greed and stuff like that.
Yep,
And I
yep.
said that the other way was compassion, truth, love, humility.
Yes.
So I touched on these things.
Yes.
But the reason I didn't bring them into focus was because I thought the money thing is going to be like, oh, economic needs. We need to focus on economic needs. So yes, it's important. And there's answers you could give that can somewhat justify certain decisions that have been made. Whereas this, I can see this as a straight hard line as, no, this will definitely degenerate society. If everyone in the world became trans, there would be no more human population. There would be no more humans in the future because everyone's become trans. Nobody's having kids. Unless you then want to go down the route of everyone can be trans, but we grow our kids in a lab. If you do you see what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
It goes down this crazy futuristic Black Mirror kind of situation.
Yeah. But
Whereas,
do you see the trans population in the UK sort of growing explosively to justify that?
honestly,
concern?
I would say yes. 5 years ago, I never heard of. Well, I knew they existed, but I thought they were just like pocket groups.
Yeah.
Now, literally, on the way to the park today, I saw a gentleman, and I will call him a gentleman, wearing a dress.
Okay.
It was halfway up his arse.
Wow.
I'm not
okay.
even joking. It was literally, it was tight. It was a short skirt, and it's up his arse,
Ugh.
and he's walking down the high street, and I'm just thinking, there's children around.
Yeah.
There's people around who are just trying to have a nice normal day, and now they've got to see this grown man's arse sticking out of this dress because he feels like he identifies as a female.
Yeah.
And it's not just any female, it's one that dresses up like this.
Yeah.
I just don't see it going to a good place.
No, I get where you're coming from. The only thing I can say about that is like, yes, the trans community does have trolls as well. There is a famous case of a Canadian teacher who injected himself with so many hormones that he had massive boobs.
Okay.
He was walking around like literally like this is clearly from a distance what you're seeing is a male, a man with giant boobs and a blonde wig.
Wow.
This is not a trans person. This is a trans troll. So attempting to attribute a quality of fairness and goodness onto the entire trans community. No, there are going to be some crackpots in the trans community who are trolling.
But you can't ask them. It's like, how dare you ask me? There's this whole thing like, did you assume my agenda?
So don't. So I'll put it to you this way. Whenever I'm approached by religious people here, I like a Muslim guy tells me Salaam alaikum. Even though I'm an agnostic atheist, I'm like wa alaikum assalam.
Okay.
You see what I mean? It's like if someone approaches me in a well manner, I approach them in return. I don't ask questions of people anymore. It's like I'm not going to get into that. I'm not like because you never know. Like you step like no, I don't like cats. What? Cats are the best. It's like It's like bro, it's like nothing against you, man. You know, you do you. But then suddenly you're in this argument. And I don't know, man. I don't have time. I want to keep my blood pressure down. I'm not going to get into fights with everybody. No. It's like, look, if this guy's being an asshole, you know what I mean? I don't care if he's trans, straight, gay, man, woman. An asshole is an asshole.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Yes. And I don't care. If you're a nice person, I don't care if you're trans, straight. I don't care. A nice person is a nice person. I'm going to treat you as such.
No. You still treat them nicely.
Exactly.
But you can see, like I said, I've spoken to trans people before previously at work. I had good conversations with them.
Yeah.
I felt a little bit awkward in some situations, but generally I would have a good conversation
100%.
with them. However, if I'm thinking about things logically and trying to understand that what role does God have to play in society, what role religion plays in society.
I've got a question for you. Why do you think God cares about people's sex? Isn't the soul itself genderless?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the reason I don't think God cares about what we choose to be, in the sense that He wants you to be this or He wants you to be that. I think God is more of a guidance in the sense that this is how nature is set up. If you best want to be efficient, to be an effective society, to be a long-lasting society, you want to follow these particular rules or suggestions on how to make that peak performance of that natural state.
Okay.
So that is how I would see God saying to us that if you're a man, you're a man, and if you're a woman, you're a woman. Don't try and be something you're not. Just accept what you are and go by this, and you will get the best result for your life. Yeah. It's not that you will go to heaven. I don't think God cares about heaven or hell.
Yeah, that's unrelated.
For us, it's more about trying to be better people and trying to be the best version of yourself.
Okay.
How can you be the best version of yourself if you don't think that you were born in the right body?
Okay. Well, if that is true of, say, 90% of society, this is how 90% of society behaves, but there's a remaining 10% who don't marry or who are gay or who are trans. Would you call that an unsuccessful society? It's like 90% are behaving exactly that.
Yeah, but
you see where I'm coming from?
I know, I understand. Yeah. So my parents are from India,
Yeah.
and I've been into India as well. And there used to be trans there.
Yes.
There was trans there for a long
It's
time.
what the hijra or
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And they would go around people's houses and they'd knock and they'd get money, and people just give them money and just kind of like, oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hard for them to work. You know, we have some compassion. We give them some money so they
Yeah.
can take care of themselves.
Yeah.
But they have their own community.
Yes.
Now that I can understand, but like I said, what we have right now is this push from the government to have these bathrooms all non-genderless. It's like, whoa, for point one of the community, you're now making all bathrooms genderless. Because of this point one of a community, you're now forcing this certain level of education, trying to teach kids that, hey, you could be whatever you want. I think that it's introducing, especially to the kids,
Yeah. Yeah.
ideas that they are not ready to understand or to. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, pa. Thank you. They're not ready to understand or can even conceive on a grand scale because they're still kids. They're still forming an opinion of the world.
So my brother in Dubai told me the same thing.
Okay.
And I asked him, well, can you show me a curriculum that he has three kids. His like it's 11, 8, and 5. Okay. So can you show me a curriculum where they do that to kids? The kids go to an American school. He doesn't have a curriculum. I've asked my friends here in the UK, can you show me a curriculum where that is taught to your kids? They can't give me a curriculum. I've spoken to 2 teachers. Like, can you show me where in the curriculum are they explicit? The teacher is told to teach this to children. None of the teachers I know have that.
It may not be in the curriculum, as in, hey, we're going to do a class about this today.
Yeah.
But what it is it's a, hey kids, today it's LGBTQ day, so we're going to talk about this. It may not be on the curriculum,
Gotcha.
but because they're focusing on it and they're then teaching the kids, and and then in America, it may not be on the curriculum, but they've got all these drag women coming and teaching, reading to little kids or dancing for little kids, and teaching kids how to do drag, and it's like, it's going down this insane road that, like I said, it doesn't lead to growth.
No, I
It
get
leads to degeneracy in the sense of society being
your
degenerative.
concern is like finding these things acceptable from an early age is where the real threat is. It's like I don't think anyone is really concerned about their kids suddenly becoming trans or gay.
It's not about being acceptable. Like I said, in India, they accepted that these people exist, and they kind of had compassion for them and gave them money.
Okay.
It's the fact that these ideologies are being put into kids. For example, if I was to say, I'm going to take all the kids, and from a young age, I'm going to teach them about my personal religion, you would essentially go, you're brainwashing them since they're kids.
Okay.
If I do that with transgenderism, it's like, no, I'm just teaching them that there's option.
Yeah.
It's the language you use
to
shift the narrative the way we want to see the frame rather than the way it is.
Well, let me ask it in a slightly different way.
Yeah, go for it.
So if you put so my personal let me not ask. I'll just say what I want to get at. I think you are correct in the sense that there is a lot of exaggeration, a lot of overrepresentation of particularly strange or out there ideas, and that's largely a byproduct of the way our modern media works. Transgender issues, and I haven't looked into this deeply, but I know that there have been transgender issues as far back as when I was a kid in the 80s. That stuff never made it into TV or the news because, again, it was too small to be newsworthy. But now, it's interesting is that the media, particularly social media, likes to exaggerate and overrepresent subjects and topics that are known to encourage outrage.
Yes,
and the reason for that is
drama sells.
Drama sells, and Facebook, they did a study. It's like people who are angry tend to click more.
And they respond more.
They respond more.
Exactly.
They engage more.
Yeah.
So a byproduct of all of this, shall we say, overcorrection, and shall we say discussions on these weird topics tends to be about that. It's like when in reality, when you look at it statistically, you step away from, it's like you're talking about a very small percent of people. Their numbers are not growing exponentially. The solutions for bathrooms are actually pretty simple. You just put stalls. You don't need to make it a gendered bathroom. You just know, you put a stall in the bathroom and they close the door and you don't care what's happening behind the closed door.
As a man, I could go, yeah, that's fine. But then women, obviously, they have this thing about safety. They always have for them, the worst thing that can happen is some kind of sexual assault.
So I heard that,
yeah.
and here's another interesting point. It's like, so I actually looked into this subject because it kept coming up. How many women have been attacked by trans men? Like the number of sexual assaults by trans men?
Well, if they're 0.1 of the population, and
I can tell
it's
you
gonna
right
be
now,
minuscule.
the most famous incident was one incident where a trans man, a man who became a woman, was thrown in a women's prison. That's the most newsworthy incident. Other than that, no, most trans men don't want anything.
But the issue with women isn't trans men;
Yeah.
it's men.
Yes.
So for them, it's not the fact that they're trans; it's the fact that they're men in the bathroom where they are supposed to feel safe, where they're supposed to have
So
space to do what they want to do.
once you've got stalls set up, what are you going to do? Have someone check the like if it's a low cut, pretty looking girl comes in, are you going to check if she's got a pair of balls or not?
No.
It's the same question. And here's the thing:
I
if
can see where you're coming from.
if
in that,
everyone is
yeah.
in their stall, no one has to go into another person's
Yeah.
stall. You know what I mean? And if an attack happens, which again, it's not 0%, but then I'll put it to you this way: I was watching on Piers Morgan, like it was on YouTube. This woman talking about, I'm afraid of my daughter getting attacked by a man in a woman's bathroom. Here's the thing: this was a hardcore Christian lady. Aren't you more afraid of a pastor sexually assaulting your daughter, or the leader of the scout troop? There are so many cases against local priests, Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops, teachers, and even people's relatives molesting other people's children. And then you've got 1 or 2 cases of a trans person, and suddenly that's the person that you have to be afraid of. It doesn't make sense to me. I get the concern. I'm not saying the concern is senseless, but then when you try to look at it dispassionately, it's like, I'm sorry, the odds of a trans person attacking your child are much, much less likely than her uncle or cousin attacking.
No, for sure. But once again, I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate. I think the reason why this trans issue is on my mind, because you did ask me earlier, I think the reason why it's on my mind at the moment is because I went up down the park.
Yeah, the Posey Parker.
Yeah, there's a bunch of women there. Basically, they've been saying women's spaces should be women's spaces. Trans women are not women. So for me, I've come from there, and then I've ended up having a few more conversations related to that.
They
So
are entitled. So I don't like Posey Parker per se. Posey
okay, I
Parker
don't know anything about her,
specifically.
but yeah.
But here's the thing. Let's forget Posey Parker. Women have had historically their own suffering, their own plight, and their own issues, which I can completely understand. That a trans man is unlikely to have gone through the same historical suffering as any of those women. But at the same time, I don't think that's what that man is asking for. I don't think that's what the trans man is asking for.
No, that trans man is asking to be treated like a woman,
Yes, that's it.
which is stupid because he's not a woman. He could, like you said, he could identify as a woman,
Yes.
but he is not a woman. So to be asked to be treated like a woman, I think I don't know,
You see what I mean?
it's like I think right now in Ukraine as well, especially, this is a perfect example. Yeah, Ukraine, because it kind of touches on this.
Okay.
Is that the trans women, so the men who became women, aren't allowed to leave the country. They're having to fight because they're still technically men.
Okay.
So it shows that.
Yeah, and the Ukrainian army has women too. So even if you do,
Oh yeah, exactly.
So-
No, but the women
Yeah,
are
yeah,
being
yeah.
allowed to evacuate. You've had loads of Ukrainian women go to America
Yeah.
and the UK and stuff like that.
yeah,
But-
it's a volunteer army.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get where you're coming
But the men, they can't really volunteer. It's like, you're a man, you're going to
Yeah,
be fighting. So in that instances, I can see that how being trans doesn't actually change anything. You're still a man, and if shit hits the fan, you're going to be treated like a man. And I think that's important to remember, because it's like men's biology and women's biology is very different. It's very different. It's to say that just because you identify as something, we should now treat you as that. And just for example, you understand chivalry.
Yes.
If I'm walking into a room and I open the door and there's a woman behind me, I'll leave it open. To be honest, I do that with men as well. But if a trans woman, a man who used to be a man, now a woman,
Hello. Sorry.
Can I get in on the conversation?
Are you sure? Do you know what it's about?
I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. What are you talking about?
Well, it started with God and religion, and then it ended up at trans, and we're gonna touch trans a little bit more, and then we'll probably move on to something
Move
else.
on to something else. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But you come in the middle.
Is that live?
It's
not live,
It's
but it's
recording.
recording.
It's not live. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Whatever. I'll just stand here.
Oop.
See if I can
Yeah.
unlock the camera.
No, because you're a woman, so it'd be good.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Oh,
let's
we've
go
got
away.
two men talking
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
transition.
yeah.
How do you know? You see my leather.
I haven't checked.
Jesus Christ. Well, we can get the police involved if you want. Anyway.
No, I'll take your word for it. Me too. You're not alone, but no, the dress, the sunglasses. You're looking like an Italian movie star, man.
The problem that I have problem with my eye keeps closing the nerve.
Oh.
So I'm working on that. Maybe get better one day. I don't know. I have to wear this and it goes dark. Anyway, you okay, guys?
Yeah, we're all
not
good.
bad.
Hoping you feel better, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you want, I can maybe slap you on this side, maybe even it out.
Yeah, we go like this. I'll be like this.
Yep.
I'll leave it for my wife to slap me. Anyway, you
She'll
okay?
find an
All good,
excuse.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you:
Yeah, go for it.
have you found, or do you know what your purpose in life is?
Yes.
What is it?
To be me.
Huh?
To be me.
To be you.
Yes.
And you? Have you know what you Muslim?
Yeah. I used to be.
Now you're just on the shelf.
I'm agnostic atheist. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what your purpose in life?
No, my purpose in life is to identify my purpose.
Ah. That used to be my purpose. Until I realized how simple the purpose is. It's
Yeah.
just to be you. It is. You are you. Be the best you could be.
All the problems in life, I believe, it shapes us to something.
Mhm.
To be more patient. To respect even your enemy. I'm not being Christian now. I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
yeah.
respect the people, everybody, as human beings.
Mm.
Realize there is some kind of creator there.
Mhm.
There must be some kind of intelligence that's created in this.
100%.
So to try and know what does he want me to be, if he wants me to be anything.
Mm.
But at least love people, be patient, don't judge. All these things are nice. And we grow when we suffer,
Yes.
and we go through this life. We shape.
We hope that we grow from suffering. Some people tend to fall into victim
That goes the
mentality.
opposite.
Yes. But yeah, you would hope that they would. So just before you go, quick question. So what would be your purpose? Just out of curiosity. Is it just to grow?
No, my purpose is to kill my wife. Eventually, no.
Be careful, I'm recording this.
That's very specific.
The truth is, my purpose I learned from a long time ago. I have two daughters, I'm very happy with my wife. My purpose is to look after them and to help them so they don't suffer in life as much. To help them to be good and to also pray to God, the Creator, become more and more selfless and very important to love every human being and to be patient. Don't judge people. Follow these kind of ways.
Yeah, it's a good
This
setup.
is enough to
Very
go
good
on.
setup. Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
I'm still working on it.
What is there to work on? What am
I'm
I?
just going to be myself. Me, I got
No,
this
it's not just be myself. It's I'm gonna be me, and what
existentialist.
what I mean by be me is like be the best version of me. Like I said, it was to keep growing, and
Yeah,
I can't be someone else.
it's true.
I can only be the best version of me.
Yeah, it's true. It's not about what you achieve or what you've done, or even yourself or money or anything. It's have I done the best I can to be better me.
Yeah.
That is very, very important.
Yeah,
Very, very
yeah.
good. And that is another purpose of me. So
Yeah.
well done.
No, I like your one too. I think it's good.
Him is still thinking.
Enjoy. Have a good one. Anyway,